Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today on ATLAS.ti 22 for Windows. My name is Ivana Radovojevic, and today I have the great pleasure of connecting with you all to provide this global overview of this newest version, the latest version of ATLAS.ti. And so we're very excited to share this, and we'll get to see some of the newest features that we have here. And I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen now. So hopefully everyone can now see my presentation slides here. And so I also invite everyone to take a note of our contact information in case you ever have any questions about anything with ATLAS.ti. You can always count on our support. You can always send us an email just by writing to training@atlas.ti.com. You can also give us a call. On our website, you can see all the telephone numbers for all our international offices. And you'll also see, and we'll show this in just a few minutes, but we also have an integrated chat feature right inside ATLAS.ti. So even while you're working in the software, you can always reach out to us, so feel free, and we're always happy to help if you ever have any questions about anything with ATLAS.ti. And so I'd like to begin just by briefly saying, what is ATLAS.ti? Just so that we're all starting on the same page here. And well, what we're looking at here today is a computer-assisted qualitative data analysis software. In other words, ATLAS.ti is a tool that we as researchers can use to facilitate our analysis of any kind of unstructured or non-numerical data, so any kind of qualitative data. But ATLAS.ti can also help us carry out an analysis that is more organized and transparent and integrated. And so it's not a tool that will do all of the analysis for us, but it can certainly help a lot. And in some cases, it even can do some analyses for us. But more than anything, ATLAS.ti is just a powerful companion that will be with us throughout the entire research process to help make everything easier. Now, ATLAS.ti is also a wonderful tool for collaborating with others, because we can have multiple people on the same project. You can even carry out qualitative and quantitative analyses. So if you're even doing mixed methods, or you even have some parts where you can quantify some of your qualitative outputs and vice versa. And of course, we can analyze a great variety of kinds of data. So you might be analyzing text data, like transcripts from interviews, but you can also use ATLAS.ti to analyze images, audio recordings, videos, geographic data, notes from Evernote. You can import references from bibliographic reference managers. You can import survey data, tweets from Twitter, and you can import comments from social media. And this can be social media like Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, any kind of social media. You can also get those comments into ATLAS.ti. And this is something that's new in version 22, for example. And so just to tell a little bit about ATLAS.ti and the whole kind of family of ATLAS.ti products that we have here, because when you get a license for ATLAS.ti Windows, you'll have access to all of the ATLAS.ti platforms. And so always with one license, you have access to all these different platforms. So you can always choose how you want to use the software, where you want to work. Now today, ATLAS.ti has been around for over 30 years, and the first version was developed in 1989 in the Technical University of Berlin. And today we now count on version 22 of the software. And so that's our latest release. But over the years, our developers also created the native version for Mac operating systems. We also have a natively developed online version, and that's ATLAS.ti Web. And so you can always choose whether you have a Windows computer or a Mac computer, you'll be able to use the software. You can also just work online if you don't want to download and install any software. And then we also have mobile app versions. And so if you have an Android tablet or an iPad, you can also download the ATLAS.ti app for free. And then also that's great for starting your project. If maybe you're out in the field collecting data, or you're on the go, you can start with the tablet, and then you can always move it to these other platforms. And so you can also move your projects across these in case you want to, you get another computer in the future or something. Of course, you have that freedom and flexibility as well. And so just a little bit about the licenses of ATLAS.ti. So it's good to know that all of our licenses always include full functionality. So it's a one-time purchase and you get the whole software. You don't have to keep paying extra to unlock other tools or features. Everything is included right there, and you have access to all of the platforms. And so you'll see that you can choose whether you want to get the license as a yearly subscription, or you can already pay for the next 3 years. But this way, you will always be getting the latest version of ATLAS.ti. So whenever a newer version is released in the future, that's also included with your license. Now, in case you do just want to use ATLAS.ti Web, you'll also see we have that option on the website. But more than anything, I also wanted to point out here that if you want to already get started with ATLAS.ti today, you can do this with the free trial version. So the free trial version will give you unlimited access to the software for 5 days, or 5 times that you actually enter and use the software. It's not just 5 consecutive days. So then you can already start your project there and try it out, see how it looks and works. And then once your 5 days have been used up, your project will still stay saved. It won't suddenly disappear. Everything will still stay there on your computer. And then when you get a license and activate it, you can continue working on that same project. And so now for everyone who's come here and joined us in our webinar today, we're very happy to share a 10% discount coupon that you can use for any ATLAS.ti desktop and web license. And so you can see the discount coupon code right here in case you want to write that down. But as well, feel free to reach out to us afterwards in case you'd like to ask for it again, and we'd be more than happy to share that with you. And so you have the discount coupon code here. It's capital letters NKQ and then the number 10. Now, aside from the licenses, on our website, we also have a great variety of learning resources that you can explore. And so, for example, if you and your team or classmates want to learn more about ATLAS.ti, you can request a free personalized online demonstration for you and your group. And so basically you just have to let us know what it is about ATLAS.ti that you want to learn more about. And then we'll prepare a personalized presentation for you and your group on whatever date and time suits you best. Now, if you want to get even deeper into ATLAS.ti and really hone your understanding of the software, then you can always attend one of our premium trainings. And we offer these all year round. We have them online in real-time formats where we connect, sort of like we're connected here today. So we have these live online classes, and we also have self-paced classes. And so in that case, you would register for the course, and then you have unlimited access to all of the course contents for 30 days. And then you complete the course according to your own rhythm and pace. And so you can choose which one you would prefer, but upon completing any of our premium trainings, you would also receive an official certificate from the ATLAS.ti Academy. And then besides the courses, you can also find on our website the manual with all the information and documentation. Actually, you'll find this in the website as well as inside ATLAS.ti. But we also have a research blog where we regularly publish best practices articles or interviews with researchers. So different things of interest like that. And then a particularly great way, I think, to revise any contents are our video tutorials. And so you can see these on our website, but also on our YouTube channel if you search for us there. And so I just wanted to also briefly talk a little bit more about our self-paced online courses, because this is something that we've been working on in the past few years. And then, of course, recent events around the world made them even more valuable. And we're really happy to see that we are consistently getting 5 out of 5 star ratings, and people have been sharing a lot of great feedback with us. And so it's certainly something, I think it's a really great and comfortable way to learn, because you can always just do it according to your own rhythm and pace. You don't have to follow our schedule or different time zones. And then we have self-paced courses on all the major versions of ATLAS.ti, as well as on using the software for literature reviews. And we have a course that provides an introduction to qualitative research. And so we don't even talk about ATLAS.ti. Rather, there we're just focusing on designing and carrying out a qualitative study. So it's just more broadly about qualitative research and methodology. In case you're interested in any of these courses, I also wanted to point out that that same 10% discount coupon also applies to these. So feel free to take advantage of it. If you'd like to use that, if you're ever interested, definitely, we'd be happy to welcome you to the course. And then also with ATLAS.ti, you can always count on our free perpetual support for any questions you might have about anything with the software. And like I mentioned before, you can always reach out to us via email, telephone, or chat. And so we give 24-hour support 5 days a week, so count on it in case there's ever anything that we can help with. And so with that little introduction then, why don't we go ahead now and take a look at ATLAS.ti 22 for Windows. And so I have here open ATLAS.ti Windows. And I've already opened up a sample project that I have that I migrated from the older version here. And in the sample project, we're looking at evaluations of the computer game Minecraft. And so we're seeing how parents talk about this game and, if they think it's appropriate or not for their children. Now, this is a sample project that we created just to show what a project might look like in ATLAS.ti. And you can find the same project on our website, so if you'd also like to download it yourself to use it for kind of experimenting and trying things out, please feel free to do so. And all right, so in the center, this kind of ATLAS.ti is welcoming us and just giving us some broad information about our project here. And then just like, any other computer software along the top, we have all these different options, our ribbon toolbar. And this is also organized in a series of tabs. And so we can easily click around to see what we have. And then if you're ever wondering what a certain button does or how it works, you can just hover your mouse over that button, and then this help text appears. And so you always have this available, so feel free to click around and explore. And we won't break anything here. And then even if it does happen that we click on something we didn't want to, make some change we didn't mean to, well, we can always undo or redo our work, so there's no need to worry. As long as you're in the same working session, we can always undo here. And so we can certainly rest assured. Now here on the left-hand side, this is what we call the Project Explorer panel. And from here, we can see and directly access any part of our project. So this is where we're going to spend a lot of time, is where we orient ourselves a lot. And so, for example, the first thing that we can see here is that we have 49 documents in the project. Okay, so we can open this list up and see these documents. And so what is a document then in ATLAS.ti? Well, our documents refer to our data, to any source of information that we're going to be analyzing. So our documents can be text documents. In this case, we imported responses to surveys with open-ended questions. So participants answered 2 questions, and we can see what they answered in each one here. But it could also be an interview transcript. It could also be PDF files, the articles for our literature review. The documents could also be videos, audio recordings. It can be images, tweets from Twitter, Google Earth maps, so any kind of data that you want to analyze, you'll add it to the project as a document. And so you'll see that you can add your documents straight from the Home tab, right? You click here and then just bring in the files. So we have our documents open here. We can start maybe with this one we have here. But how would we go about analyzing this data then? Well, when it comes to analyzing text data, what we're going to do is go through and read the text. And then anytime you come across anything that captures your attention, something that can maybe help you answer one of your research questions, all you have to do is highlight that segment of the text. Now, to save this highlighted segment, we can right-click, and then we have some different options here. If we just want to save the highlighted segment without doing anything else to it, we can save it as a free quotation. And so we click here, and on the right-hand side, we see this blue vertical bar appear. You can see in this case, I already had one. So now I just made 2 quotations, essentially. And you can see that one's linked. But so this blue vertical bar is just showing us the size and location of any quotations in our document. So a quotation is just any segment of data that we have selected and saved. And so certainly, if we just want to save the quotations, we can do that. But on the other hand, as we're going through and reading this text and analyzing everything, perhaps we want to already start capturing our analysis of this data and start organizing all of these quotations that we're finding. And so in that case, what we can do is we can add codes to our quotations. Now, a code this can be simply a word or a short phrase that's describing something you're seeing in the data. And so we can attach codes to our quotations like we see here. And this helps us organize our analysis and start condensing all of this rich qualitative information that we have here. It might also be helpful to think of codes as simply tags that we're going to go attach into quotations to organize everything. And so we can highlight any quotation and right click. And if we want, we can just go straight to apply codes. And then the coding window appears here. So the great thing about this window is that we can create any code that we would like, as we're going through and reading here. And then maybe I see that they're saying that this is a great game for gifted kids. It's fun and educational. And so we can generate any kind of codes that we would like. It's important that we're describing what we're seeing in our data, and that, we're creating codes that can help us answer our research questions. So maybe here I want to say, I can create a code. This is fun and educational for kids. So you can type any code name that you want, and then you can click on the plus button or just press the enter key on the keyboard. And then ATLAS.ti saves the quotation and attaches the code for us. Now we can add as many codes as we want to any single quotation. And so here we can continue creating codes, but we can also see all the codes that we've already created. And so we can also easily add any of those. You can click on the plus button to also add that. And naturally, we can also search for any code names. As you start typing, then ATLAS.ti will also show if you have any code names that match that text. And so in this way, we're attaching all these codes, and then later we can see how it very quickly and easily we can tell ATLAS.ti, show me everything that we found about the educational benefits of the game. And then with the click of the mouse, ATLAS.ti can show us all the quotations we have associated with this code. Then we can also analyze which codes appear together in our data. We can compare code frequencies across all of our data. So we can do all sorts of other things, but definitely the first step, where we build the foundation of the analysis, is by going through and coding the data. So coding is as simple. I'll just repeat that one more time. You highlight any segment of text and you can right click to add your codes. Now you have also the same options up here, and naturally you can also click on those. Oftentimes there's more than one way to do the same thing in ATLAS.ti, and that's just so that each of us can work in whatever way we prefer. And then if you do want to use codes that you've already created, you'll also see that you can view all those codes on the left-hand side. Remember, we can see everything in our project in our left-hand panel. And if you want to add one of these codes that you've already made, well, you can also just drag and drop it on top of any highlighted segments. And then that will also save the quotation and attach the code for you. And so in this way, we can go through analyzing our text and starting to organize all these different bits of information. But another equally important part of the analysis, and as we're going through and making sense of everything, we'll imagine we're going through and reading our text and our data that we have, and we have a lot of ideas going through our mind, as what this participant's saying, maybe it reminds me of something another person said or something that we read in an article. Naturally, we have a lot of things going through our heads, or kind of impressions or questions, doubts. And so it's very helpful to have a place to write down all of these kinds of thoughts and analyses that we have going on in our heads. Well, this is exactly where memos come in. A memo is essentially a notebook. It's a blank space that we can use to write down anything that we would like. Naturally, we can also create as many memos as we want. So let's imagine here I want to have a memo dedicated to this idea of the educational benefits of this game. I see it coming up a lot. It's something really interesting. So why don't we go ahead and create a memo about the educational benefits of the game. And that's it. Now we have our new notebook, our new blank space where we can write our thoughts, our notes, ideas, descriptions, and critical reflections and analyses. Really, these memos are just for us. No one else has to see what we're writing inside the memos. It's really for us to develop our analyses and understanding of the data. So don't worry about writing perfectly. What's important is that we're working through our thoughts and forcing ourselves to put our thoughts into words, because it really helps us develop our understanding of the qualitative data. Writing is an important part of the analysis. And so a habit we definitely want to get into. And then you can explore more here in the memos, just like any other text writing program. You can edit all of the text here, format it as you would like. One thing that I think is really helpful is that you can insert the date and time. And so then you can easily keep track of all of your analyses. Since we work on research projects for years, oftentimes it's good to keep track of everything. So memos are a great place to do that. But all right, let's imagine then we've written down our notes here. But before moving on with the rest of our analysis, Well, it was, let's say it was this quotation in particular that inspired those thoughts that we wrote down in our memo. And so we're going to want to remember that that memo was talking about this quotation, right? Well, just like we can attach codes to our quotations, we can also attach memos. And so you'll do that in the exact same way as before. You can just drag and drop memos onto quotations as well. And so then this is a really helpful part of the analysis because we have everything linked together. And so then we can easily see the data that we have, how we're coding it, as well as our own thoughts and more elaborated ideas and notes there. And so this is really the foundation of the analysis, I would say. And if we do this part well, then everything else will be certainly much smoother sailing throughout the rest of the analysis. And so everything that we've been doing so far is a sort of a, I suppose, manual analysis. But actually, before I move on, I do also want to show how we can analyze other kinds of data. So we've been focusing a lot on text here. But in case you are going to be working with other kinds of data, it's also good to know that everything we've been doing so far still applies. It's always the same logic of how you work with the data and how you code and analyze. It's just that we have a slightly different format. And so let's imagine you want to analyze videos or audio recordings. And so then, of course, we can listen to them and watch them right here in ATLAS.ti. And you have all the options, if you want to change the playback rate and these kinds of things. But how do we then analyze this video or audio data? So if you're working with audios, it's the exact same layout here. You just don't have a picture in the middle. Well, it's going to always be the same logic that we select quotations, we select segments of our data and attach codes and memos. So to select a segment of a video or audio, we're going to move over here to the timeline that we have here of the whole multimedia file. And we have it next to that margin area again, just like we had before with the text. And so to select a segment, we just click, drag and drop to highlight a part of our video or audio. And then ATLAS.ti already saves that quotation. So it's that same blue vertical bar again. And you can revise just this selected parts and even drag and drop the ends to adjust the quotation as needed. And then just like always, you can right click to add your codes, click on the buttons above, or drag and drop from the left-hand side. And that way we can attach codes directly to segments of videos and audios. You can just click, drag and drop. There we go. And then add your codes and memos. And if you prefer, you can also manually mark start and end points of these quotations. As you're watching it, you can just click to mark them there. And now if you are working with videos, then let's imagine maybe you also want to analyze the visual aspects of what's going on here in this video. Well, we also have a nice little feature here that you can capture a snapshot. And so if you click here, ATLAS.ti basically takes a screenshot of what you have in your video. And now it's added this image to our project. So we have another document added, which is now a still image. And so if we go to our list of documents, indeed, we have this new document here, and it has the descriptive name, so we know where exactly it came from. And now this is a static image. So then how do we analyze images in ATLAS.ti? Well, as always, we're going to select quotations, so segments of the data, and then attach codes and memos. So to select a segment of an image, just click, drag, and drop. And then this rectangle appears that you can move around and you can resize. And then to save the selected segment, just like always, you can right click to save the quotation, to apply codes, or use the buttons above, or just drag and drop from the left-hand side. And so that way we can analyze our data in as much detail as we would like. We can have as many quotations as we want, they can be overlapping, so you can capture all these different parts. And so now we know how we can analyze text data, multimedia data, and images. And so with that, we have a broad range of possibilities, certainly. And now all of this that we've been doing here is essentially this manual analysis. We're working with the computer, but it's still us, the human researcher, that's going through and analyzing this data. And so that's, of course, a very important part for many qualitative studies. But on the other hand, if you are working, since we are with the computer, and if you are working with text data especially, then we do have a lot of tools that can also help kickstart our analysis, and that can be a really powerful complement to our own analysis. So let's imagine that we've added our text data here. We haven't yet read what all our participants said. And before getting involved in each one, we just want to have a quick global overview of what it is that they were talking about. So in other words, we want to conduct a content analysis. So we can very easily create word clouds and word lists just by clicking up here. And so we click on word cloud, and ATLAS.ti creates a word cloud of just this document that we had opened. So we can see which words appear in this document and how many times. And then in this left-hand pane, you can include more and more documents, right? We can have as many documents as we would like. As long as it's a text document, ATLAS.ti will be able to count the word frequencies here. And so then you can see how many times they appear. Of course, here at the top, you have some other options in case you'd like to adjust any of the settings here with the word cloud. Another really nice feature here, and this is something new in version 22, is that you can also focus on different parts of speech. And so if you are really interested in analyzing the words that participants are using, or their discourse, or how they're expressing something, how they're speaking, then this can be a really powerful tool, because then you can just focus on adjectives, right? I just want to see what descriptive words participants used, and then it'll just show us those. And so you can, filter for as many as you would like, but this of course can also certainly be very powerful. And then you can save this as an image, and then that image you can put in your final reports or presentations of your research. So this is one way that we can already generate some outputs of our research. So word clouds and word lists are great for exploring our data and seeing what's out there. What is it the participants are saying? And so here we can see that these 5 participants use the word creative 2 times. And so we can see, okay, they said something is creative, but we still don't know exactly what it is they said is creative. Is it that the game is creative, or you have to be creative to play it? So the context does matter a bit in order to understand what it is that they're actually saying here. Well, we also have another really wonderful tool now in ATLAS.ti 22, and that's that we can automatically search for concepts in our text data. So if we click on here, what ATLAS.ti does is it goes through the selected documents. I'll go ahead and select a few more again here. And then it's going to identify any concepts that are appearing. And I'm just going to maximize this window so we can see this a bit better. So it's not just counting every single word, rather it's counting actual concepts that come up, and then we can see how many times they appear. And if you click on any of these, you can see the exact quotation where it appears. So we see the actual data here. And then down below, ATLAS.ti will also show us any other variations of this concept, or any other kinds of this concept. And so then you can see how this also appeared, so we can also say for video, but if there's about YouTube videos or other kinds of videos. And so in this way, you can very easily explore what it is the participants are actually saying here. We can see this data, and it doesn't just end there. Besides just exploring, we can even have ATLAS.ti automatically code this data based on these concepts. And so, for example, if I'm interested in gameplay, and then we can click here, and we can either code all the results of gameplay, or if we just want to focus on one of these sub concepts, then you can click on that, and then it'll just filter for that. But whatever you click on, that's what we can code for. And then you go up here, and we can apply the proposed codes of ATLAS.ti, and then it'll add that code here. So we can take a look with another example here. If I say kid, and well, what about kids? And so is it about gifted kids, creative kids? So if I just want to code for them generally, then ATLAS.ti can attach the code kid to all of these. So we see that it's showing us that preview here. Or we can get more specific, and I'll say, no, I want to code just for gifted kids and creative kids. And we can do that here. So this is also a great help that we can explore the different kinds of concepts coming up, and then choose if we want to save any of them as codes. And then this also, we can toggle between viewing these results as a cloud or as a list, whatever you might find easier, you can explore it like that. And so this can also be a wonderful tool for quickly and easily getting a sense of what's going on in our data, and that we can also already save those segments of data by attaching this code to them. So the concept search is an exciting new tool we have in ATLAS.ti 22, but ATLAS.ti also has some other search and code tools that can help out with the analysis. And so if you go to the search and code tab, you'll find all of these. So here again, we have our content analyses, the concept search, and then we have a handful of other tools here that I also just wanted to point out so that you're aware in case you ever need them. You always have them here at your disposal. And so we saw that we can have ATLAS.ti automatically look for concepts, but maybe you're just interested in a particular word and you want to see where it's appearing across your data. And so in that case, you can use the text search tool. And so just like always, we'll tell ATLAS.ti which documents we want to search in. And then we can tell ATLAS.ti to search for any word that we might be interested in. And then ATLAS.ti will search for this. And every time it finds this word, it'll highlight the whole paragraph in which it appears. And then it can attach a code for us. And so here we can personalize the search. Maybe I wanted just to get the sentence. What's also great is that we can easily add any synonyms. Because maybe participants are talking about something being educational, but they don't use exactly that word. Maybe they described it in a different way. And so then we can add as many synonyms as we would like. And you can add as many search words as you would like as well. So if you want to look for multiple words in a sentence or specify phrases and so on, you have all of that power here. We can also include inflected forms, which means that ATLAS.ti will take the root word and it'll also capture any other variations of it. So if you were to look for run, it would also get running, runs, ran. So again, a very helpful feature here because that's how natural language is, right? And so the machine learning models in ATLAS.ti have certainly been improving a lot over the years. And so we can add all of these different things. And then we can see everywhere this word appears in our documents. In this case, I selected very few documents, so it only appears once. But now we can click up here to add codes to all of these. And again, you can create a new one or add a code you already have. And then we can go back and even adjust it, so in this way you can search for any words across all of your text data. So that's the text search tool, where we, the researchers, specify what words to look for. Regular expression search is essentially a more advanced form of the text search tool. If you like to build search strings and use grep, then you can do that here. But otherwise, the text search tool certainly can accomplish, I think, most of the needs we might have. Now we have two other interesting tools here. And these, again, are another kind of automatic analysis that ATLAS.ti can help us out with. So named entity recognition is an interesting tool that can go through our data and automatically identify anytime a person, place, organization, or any other kind of entity has been mentioned. So under miscellaneous, it could be things like works of art, books, political parties, any other kind of entity that might be appearing in the data. And then ATLAS.ti goes through and then it shows us which entities it identified. And so you can even here adjust the categorization, in case you disagree with it. And then we can already see a preview of what kinds of codes it would have. And so then we can tick the boxes for which results we want to see. And there we have it. And we can see where these entities appeared and we can apply these proposed codes. So again, it's automatically saved for us. So if you are interested in analyzing people, places, or organizations, then this, of course, might be a great tool for you. On the other hand, maybe you're doing some research where you want to know how people feel about something, how they reacted to something. In that case, you might be very interested in the sentiment analysis tool. And so here, ATLAS.ti will go through and identify whether participants or the text is expressing a positive, negative, or neutral sentiment. And just like before, you see all the results, and then you can tell ATLAS.ti to code everything or just a few of them. And there we have it. So a lot of different search and code tools here that can really help us a lot with the analysis. I still think the human researcher is really important for making sense of the qualitative data, but having these tools is really exciting because it really does make things easier. And it can be a great way to complement our analysis and to see, what we're finding and to kind of explore it from a different angle. And so hopefully you also enjoy these tools here. But then besides these analysis tools, then another thing that I'd like to move on to now, another really helpful way to analyze qualitative data and to make sense of things is to also visually display what we have going on in our project and start drawing connections across these different parts. And so what I'd like to do now is create a network. So we can also make networks in ATLAS.ti, as many networks as we would like. For example, here, maybe I want to explore the different benefits of the game the participants mentioned. So we have our network here, and we can visualize any part of our project in a network. So since we have some codes on different benefits, I'm going to go ahead and start by bringing these in. And so you can bring in any objects to a network just by dragging and dropping them in. Right, and so here we have different codes, so we can move them around. And then, and maybe here, so I have different benefits that came up, but also I know that they were related to the mods and texture packs of the game, about giving recommendations for it, and describing the game as fun and enjoyable, right? So I'm just adding different codes that seem to be related to me, and so I can kind of start drawing out how they're related to one another. So from our networks, we can link together any objects that we have here. And so to link two objects, you'll click on the first one you want to start with, and then this little square appears in the corner. So we're going to click on that square and then just drag and drop it to the other code we want to associate this with. When we let go of the mouse, we can choose a name for this relationship. So we have a few options here, but for linking codes, so when we're drawing connections in a network, then we'll use this here to link codes. And so we can see that ATLAS.ti is saying, so do you want to say that the benefit of creativity is a property of benefits, it contradicts benefits, is part of? Well, I would say it's part of, for example, that this is a part of the benefits of the game. So we click on the square, drag and drop, and then choose a name for the relation. Now we can create any relation name that we want, right? So we can just click down here and specify anything that we would like. You know, just about everything in ATLAS.ti is customizable. So we can draw any kind of network that we would like here. For example, maybe I want to say, this is an example of that. So you can type any name you'd like, and we can even change the colors of these. And you can choose if you want it to be a single-headed or double-headed arrow so that it should go in both directions. And there we have it. So maybe I want to say that this feature of the game is something that facilitates these benefits, that these descriptions were related with building things. And so then you can draw out all these different kinds of links here. Now, besides just linking different objects in a network, we can also continue to view more detailed information. And so now we have all these codes that we were working with. But if we go to the top and click on the View tab, we have more options here. So for example, another great feature of ATLAS.ti is that every single object that we have here has its own comment space. It has its own little area where you can write more information about that object in particular. And so you'll see these comments down here. As we click on a code, we can see their comments that we wrote. And for example, when it comes to working with codes, we always recommend to write out the operational definition of each code in its comment space. So that's a perfect place to note that down. So we know exactly what this code is referring to. And so comment spaces are great for more detailed information about the specific things that we have in the project. And then if we would like, we can also view these now in our network. And so this is really nice because then anyone who looks at our network will know exactly what we mean by all these concepts, how they were defined and analyzed in this study. But we can also view frequencies. And so here we can see two numbers with each code, and we also see them here in the list. This first number is G for groundedness, and that's telling us how many quotations we have attached to this code. The second number is D for density, and that's telling us how many links this code has with any other codes in the project. So here we have a density of 1 because it only has one other link. Here it's 4, and we see all 4 of them in this network here. So these numbers, these frequencies give us another sense of how the codes were used in the project. So it's also some more helpful information. And then as we continue exploring here, so I can see that this benefit about collaboration, we have 9 quotations attached, but maybe I can't quite remember what it was the participants said. I'd like to refresh my memory about this. Well, we can also right click on any code, and then we can import any of its neighbors, anything else that was attached with this object. And so if I see that we have 9 quotations here, and I want to see these quotations, then we can just go to add neighbors and add those quotations, and ATLAS.ti also brings them in. So all those links that we were working on before, of course, everything stays saved, ATLAS.ti remembers. And now we can visually explore everything in our networks and start seeing what is linked here, what do we have attached. And so, for example, here we have some quotations that was coded with this code and with our code about being creative, right? So ATLAS.ti is showing us that as we bring things into the network. And right now it's just showing us the quotation names. But if we click on preview at the top, then we can of course see the entire quotation. So exactly what it was the participant said. If we have image quotations, we can also see those here in the network. And so we have all these different examples then from our data, and we can even, these are nice to illustrate the different things the participants said, or to show what it is that we're finding. And remember, we can visualize any part of the project. So we can also add in the memos that we were writing. We can also preview that. And even the memo can be linked to different parts of the network. And then as we're adding objects, and I've kind of made a mess of my network here, but we have this wonderful feature here that we can apply different layout options to the networks. And so you can click here to try out different ways to organize all of the nodes that we have in the network. And then once we find one that we like, of course, we can just save this in ATLAS.ti, but we can also export this as an image. And then this is something that's great to include in final reports, manuscripts of our research, as well as presentations, because it's a really great way to convey information and what it is that we are finding. Because then we can show, we give our readers and our audience this kind of global overview of our data and all of these rich things that were coming up and how it's all related, right? To kind of tell that overarching story. So networks are a really great way to make sense of qualitative data and to kind of put everything down on one page and see how it all connects together. So I hope you also enjoy working with the networks. But then one other thing that I wanted to mention here, because as we were working with networks and we started linking some codes together, we do also have another new feature in ATLAS.ti 22 that I did want to take a minute to also explain here so that everyone's aware. When you're working with your codes, and so when you're going through your data, you're creating a lot of codes, and perhaps at first you're just going to be creating codes as you see them coming up, without much organization. And that's completely normal, right? That's part of the inductive analysis, when you just create codes based on what you see. But then at some point, you will want to take a pause and take a look at your list of codes and organize these a bit. And so when you want to work with organizing your codes, you can open up the codes manager. And so you see all of these main entities of the project have their own managers here in the home tab. And so you can click there to open up the code manager. I'm going to go ahead and just maximize this so we can just see this here. So as you can see, all of the windows and panes in ATLAS.ti, they can be moved around, adjusted, so you can make it comfortable for you. But so here we have the code manager, right? And so this window here is showing us all of the codes that we have in the project and is giving us more detailed information on each one. So here again, we can see those 2 numbers for each code: the groundedness, how many quotations are attached, and density, how many links this code has with any other codes in the project. Now we can also see if a code belongs to any groups and which groups these are. So you'll see these groups on the left-hand side here. Now groups are simply a way to organize the codes, and groups are a way that we can also apply filters to our analysis. If we know that we're going to want to focus on one specific subset of codes, for example, then we can make a group out of them. We can have as many groups as we want. They are not mutually exclusive, so you can really use these to organize in whatever ways you would like to have your codes put together. And creating a group is really as simple as just selecting the codes you want to group together and dragging and dropping them to this left-hand side, the panel where we see code groups, and then you can give it a name. So groups are essentially filters. And then when you click on a group, ATLAS.ti applies a filter only showing codes in that group. And then you can click in the white space and then you go back to the full list again. So groups are a nice way to sort of filter here. But you might be thinking, I mean, yeah, that's nice and helpful, but really when I start coding the qualitative data, well, we might start identifying different categories or themes or similarities across codes. Maybe we want to start organizing them like that. And indeed, this is a really common part of qualitative analysis, that you have category codes and subcodes, or parent codes and child codes. There's a lot of different words for it, or themes and categories. And so of course we can develop that now in our code list. So what you might do here is maybe go through your list of codes, because they won't have all these neat names the first time you're doing this, right? But you can go through, you say, so here I see some codes, they're talking about something similar, we have different benefits that are coming up. And so you can just highlight those codes that you see share some similarities. And then maybe we make a group, right? Just to kind of have them set aside. And, just in case it's easier to look at a reduced version of the list. Now, as we go through, and then maybe I'm looking at all these codes and I say, yeah, so all of these are different, let's say, positive evaluations for the game. And so these are all different subcodes that I'd like to capture under this category of positive evaluations. And so basically, if we'd like to put this kind of hierarchical structure in our code list, then we can do that now with ATLAS.ti 22. So we can make any code become a category code as long as that code doesn't have any quotations. Now, honestly, I think the best way to do this is just create a new code right here. And I would say positive evaluations. And then I want to add these codes to that as a category code. And I need to bring that code in here to our group. And so we have all our codes here. So I say that this code is one of these, right? I want it to be a subcode. So we can drag and drop it over, just like we did before. Remember when we were linking? But now we're going to move our code, right? So we're going to move it under this one. You see, ATLAS.ti is telling us what we're doing. So we're turning this into a category code that has all of these subcodes here. And of course, we don't have to do this one by one. But now we have this hierarchy. And so we can either just look at positive evaluations. Now it tells us the total number, or we can open it up to see each specific subcode and their individual groundedness. We go back to the full list, right? It's always in alphabetical order here. But here we can see all our different category codes, and then we can open them up to see the subcodes. So with that auto coding that we did before, with the entity analysis or the sentiment analysis, ATLAS.ti automatically did this for us. And so we can see how many sentiments we identified and how many of each kind. So to make these hierarchies, all you need to do is drag and drop the codes under a code that has no quotations on it. And then we have this hierarchical structure as well. Now, another thing that's new with ATLAS.ti 22 that you might have been noticing as I've been clicking around here in the code manager is that down here, we also have this bar chart showing us more information about our codes. So when we don't click on anything, what it's showing us is each document in the project, and then we can see which codes appear in each one and how many times, right? The thicker, the wider the color section, the more higher the frequency. And so it's doing this by the colors, right? And so we can also set any colors that we would like here, so all of this, of course, we can edit. And then we can see that. When we click on a particular code, then we can see just this code across the documents, right? So then it kind of filters to only show us information about that code. And so for example, if here, maybe I want to make the negative sentiment red and yellow, so then we can see this a bit better, right? And then if we click on sentiment, and now we can see for each of these participants, what kinds of sentiments were expressed, right? And so we already get a nice, quick and easy understanding of that. So this is also a new feature in ATLAS.ti 22 that we have bar charts throughout, and it's just to help us again understand our data in different ways and what's going on in our project. So you feel free to click around and explore that. And then maybe it also helps with some analyses and kind of gives some more insights about what we have going on here with our research. So that's just a little bit about the code manager and how you can organize the codes. I wanted to point it out since this is something new in ATLAS.ti 22. So if some of you have used ATLAS.ti before, you might have been wondering how you can make use of that. And so I hope that that helps. And all of this work we did on the codes, we now see here on the left-hand side, right? And so then we organize the codes and clean it up. And then that really helps with understanding what it is that we have, what it is that we're finding and identifying in our analysis. And so then to wrap up with the webinar, I wanted to show 2 more analysis tools that we have here, because I think they can also be a great help. And so I do also want to point these out, but you'll see under the Analyze tab, we have a variety of tools here that you can, or of course, welcome to explore. And these tools come in handy once you have coded the data. And then you can come to these tools and explore those codings in different ways. So why don't we start by taking a look at the code co-occurrence table. With this tool, we can analyze which codes appear together across all our data and how many times. So what we're going to do here, we'll start on the left, and we're first going to tell ATLAS.ti what codes do we want to work with. So maybe here, I want to examine the different sorts of benefits and downsides that were mentioned. And I want to see which benefits and downsides were mentioned together with different descriptions of the game. And so then maybe I'll just select all of these here. So we're ticking the boxes telling ATLAS.ti what codes we want to go in rows and columns. And then ATLAS.ti simply creates a table for us, showing us whether any of these codes appear together, and if they do, how many times. So why don't we take a look at this one by one? We can see here in the table, the descriptions of the game being addictive appears twice together with people saying that the game has this benefit of creativity. So these 2 codes appear together on 2 different occasions. And we can see here that talking about the creative benefits of the game appear together 3 times with descriptions of the game as being challenging. So the code co-occurrence table is showing us if codes appear together. This can mean that they're on the same quotation or that they're in overlapping quotations, but the point is that they're coming up together. Now, if we click on any of these cells, we can see the data behind these numbers. So I say, okay, it appears 3 times, but what was it the participants were saying? Well, just click on the cell and you can see that here, right? So everything is really dynamic and interactive. So it really helps you explore the data. And we can either have this bird's eye view of what code co-occurrences we have, or we can even dive into even more detail here to see the actual data that's behind these numbers. And then I'm also going to compress the table, remove empty columns and rows so we can see that a bit more clearly. But so this already gives us an idea of with these different benefits and downsides, what kinds of descriptions participants gave for the game. So it's interesting to see that the game being addictive or even the game being fun also comes up with some downsides, right? And so then we can already start to elaborate a clear understanding of what participants are saying about this game, how they're evaluating it. Now this, of course, if we want to save the table, we can export this to Excel. But then we can also see down below, we again have another bar chart. And so this is also something new with ATLAS.ti 22, that we're seeing the same information, but in a bar chart format. And so then we can see when participants talked about the game being creative, what other codes appeared here together. And as you scroll or hover your mouse over it, then you can see those codes. Besides the bar chart, you can also toggle between the bar chart or the Sankey diagram. And so the Sankey diagram, again, it's the same information, but in this wonderful visual format where you can see clearly which codes appear together and how many times, all right? The thicker the line, the higher the frequency. And so this is a really nice way to explore, this code co-occurrence table gives us this space also for serendipity, for something unexpected to come up from our analysis, because we're very involved in the coding and all the finer details and every single sentence in our data that we might not even realize that we have some codes that are appearing together a lot. And when you do have some codes that are appearing together many times across the data, you might want to ask yourself why that is. Maybe there's some underlying relationship between these two codes, or there's some pattern emerging here that we can now explore, and we can open up a memo, write down our ideas in there, and then let's go through and look at the data and see, do our interpretations make sense, or how can we adjust it? But certainly this can help us gather all sorts of rich insights. And so there's a lot of ways that we can explore this, with tables, bar charts, or Sankey diagrams. But I definitely encourage you to click around here and to see what kinds of co-occurrences you might have once you've gone through and coded your data. And so that's the code co-occurrence table. And we also have a code document table. So let's take a look at this tool. And so here we're once again building a table, but now we're putting our codes and documents in rows and columns. And so with this table, we can very easily compare our code frequencies and where across our entire project our codes are appearing. So we can select either individual codes or groups, or again, if you want the aggregate, you can also just select the category code here. And then we can tell ATLAS.ti which documents we want to look in. So maybe I'll stick with these different descriptions we have here. And I want to see all these different individual descriptions. And I want to compare if there's any patterns among our participants for what kinds of descriptions they gave. So we select the codes and then we tell ATLAS.ti what documents to look in. We could look in every individual document, but actually I'm interested in more directly comparing between parents who actually do play the game themselves and parents who don't. And so if you remember, we made code groups before in the code manager. Well, you can do the exact same thing for documents in the document manager. And so document groups, again, it's a filter, and it's a great way to compare and contrast between different subsets of our data. And so the table is showing us that parents who don't play the game described it as addictive 7 times, while those who do play the game themselves described it as addictive 4 times. And just like before, if you click on any cell in the table, you can see the data behind these numbers, right? We're always staying close to our data here. But it was also another nice feature here, because yes, now we're just getting these absolute frequencies, how many times a code appears. But I can also see here that we have many more parents who don't play the game than those who do. Only 7 parents in our, in our project here play the game themselves, while 18 don't, right? So of course we're gonna have higher frequencies here. Well, if we are, interested in really getting these frequencies and getting these numbers for our qualitative analysis, then up here, we can also select relative frequencies. And so then we get a much better sense of which codes are appearing and where. And so then if we look at the relative frequencies, then we can see among those who don't play, which one was the most frequently occurring, or you can do it across the row. And then if we are really concerned about the fact that we don't have the same amount of data in each of these groups, we can normalize the numbers. And then ATLAS.ti takes into consideration the density of data so that we can actually directly compare these numbers. So you have all these different options up here. On the other hand, if you're not interested in all these numbers and you just want to see whether or not a code appears, you can binarize the table. And then it just says yes or no. Right? So always a lot of different options and flexibility that we have here to explore our data. But also just like before, down below, you can see a bar chart showing this information. And you can also toggle if you want to see the Sankey diagram. We'll just refresh that so it maximizes. And then you can very easily see about the game being addictive, where did it come more from? And so then you can compare across all your documents where you have the codes appearing. So the code document table, you can analyze code frequencies across any part of the project. With code co-occurrence, you can analyze which codes are appearing together and how many times. And then we have a whole host of search and code tools if you want to look for some text or for any entities, sentiments, analyze word frequencies, or search for concepts. You can also analyze a great variety of kinds of data. I mean, today we're really just kind of skimming the surface here, but you can also explore all of these here if you want to look at tweets from Twitter or social network comments or survey data. We also have, of course, more information online and on our YouTube channel. And here in the help tab, you can also see all of our different resources here. If you want to access our documentation, and here's that live chat. So then you can also open it up here. Again, you can use this to search for any documentation, but also you can decide if you want to send us an email or start a chat with us. And then, of course, we'd be happy to help. And so, feel free to reach out if any questions do ever come up. But I hope that you all enjoyed the webinar then and some of these new features in ATLAS.ti 22. I hope you're excited about it as we are. I'm just going to put up our contact information here again. If, in case you do ever have any questions or comments, I'm just going to check the Zoom here. Feel free as well to please write here in the Zoom now. But I see we don't have any for the moment. And so then now just click on that chat in ATLAS.ti or write an email to training@atlasti.com. And yeah, we'd be happy to help however we can. And well, then other than that, I just want to thank you all for your time and interest. I hope you enjoyed it. And I just want to wish everyone all the best with your qualitative data analysis with ATLAS.ti. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Goodbye.